The world had always been a dangerous place, but nothing could have prepared us for what was about to come. It started with a virus, a deadly contagion that spread rapidly across the globe, turning people into mindless, flesh-eating monsters. We called them zombies, and they were everywhere. I remember the day it all began. It was just like any other day. I woke up, got dressed, and headed to work. I worked at a small law firm in the heart of the city, and I loved my job. But as I stepped out of my apartment building, I could tell that something was wrong. The streets were eerily quiet, and there was a strange smell in the air. I walked a few blocks, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease in my stomach. But then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A man was stumbling down the street towards me, his eyes glazed over and his arms outstretched. He was covered in blood, and he was moaning incoherently. I froze, unsure of what to do. But then the man lunged at me, and I knew that I had to act fast. I pushed him away and ran as fast as I could. But as I looked back, I saw that he was still following me, his arms outstretched and his eyes fixed on me with a look of hunger in them. I ran into a nearby cafe, hoping to find safety inside. But as I entered, I saw that the place was in chaos. People were screaming and running in all directions, and there were more of those things everywhere. I tried to fight my way through the crowd, but it was impossible. I was surrounded by the undead, and there was no way out. That was the last thing I remembered before everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor of the cafe. The place was eerily quiet, and there was a strange sense of emptiness in the air. I got to my feet, feeling dizzy and disoriented. But as I looked around, I saw that I was no longer alone. There were dozens of zombies in the cafe, all of them staring at me with that same hungry look in their eyes. I knew that I had to get out of there, but I also knew that it wasn't going to be easy. I picked up a chair and held it in front of me, hoping that it would protect me from their attacks. But as I backed towards the door, I realized that I was hopelessly outnumbered. There was no way that I could fight them all off. And that's when I heard a voice behind me. "Come with me if you want to live." I turned around, ready to fight whoever was there. But what I saw surprised me. It was a group of survivors, led by a woman named Sarah. She was tall and strong, with short blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. And she was holding a shotgun. "Get behind me," she said. "I'll take care of these things." I did as I was told, crouching behind Sarah as she opened fire on the zombies. She was a crack shot, taking them down one by one with deadly accuracy. But there were too many of them, and I knew that we wouldn't be able to hold them off forever. "Let's go," Sarah said, grabbing my arm and pulling me towards the door. "We need to get out of here now." We ran out of the cafe and into the street, where the chaos was even worse than before. There were zombies everywhere, and people were running in all directions, trying to escape. But Sarah seemed to know where she was going, and she led us through the streets. We ran through the city, trying to avoid the zombies as best we could. Sarah was a natural leader, barking orders and making split-second decisions that kept us alive. We followed her blindly, trusting that she knew what she was doing. As we ran, I saw things that I will never forget. I saw people being attacked by the zombies, their screams filling the air. I saw buildings on fire, their flames lighting up the night sky. And I saw the dead bodies of those who had been unable to escape, lying in the streets like discarded trash. It was a nightmare, and I couldn't believe that it was really happening. But the evidence was all around me, and I knew that I had to keep moving if I wanted to survive. We eventually made our way to a small apartment building, which Sarah told us was a safe house. It was a rundown place, but it was better than nothing. We barricaded ourselves inside, using whatever we could find to block the doors and windows. And then we waited. For days, we stayed inside that apartment building, living off whatever food and water we could scavenge. It was a grim existence, but we were alive, and that was all that mattered. Sarah took charge, organizing patrols and rationing our supplies. She was a born leader, and we all looked to her for guidance. But as the days turned into weeks, we began to realize that we couldn't stay inside forever. We needed to find a way out of the city, to find somewhere safe where we could start over. And so, we made a plan. We would wait until nightfall, when the zombies were less active, and then we would make our way to a nearby military base. It was a risky plan, but it was our only chance. When night finally fell, we crept out of the apartment building and made our way through the deserted streets. We moved silently, trying to avoid drawing attention to ourselves. But even in the darkness, the zombies were a constant threat. We made it to the military base without incident, but getting inside was another matter. The place was heavily guarded, and we knew that we would have to find another way in. Sarah led us to a nearby drainage ditch, which she said would lead us inside the base. We crawled through the filthy water, our senses on high alert. But as we emerged from the other side, we found ourselves face to face with a group of soldiers. For a moment, I thought that they were going to shoot us on sight. But then Sarah stepped forward, holding up her hands in a gesture of peace. "We're survivors," she said. "We need your help." The soldiers eyed us warily, but they didn't shoot. Instead, they led us inside the base, where we were given food and water and medical attention. We were safe, for the moment. But as we sat around a table, eating our first hot meal in weeks, Sarah told us that this was only the beginning. There were more zombies out there, and we needed to be prepared for whatever was to come. And so, we trained. We learned how to fight, how to shoot, how to survive in a world that had been turned upside down. We became a team, a family, united by our determination to survive. Days passed and things got tough. The zombies were still out there, but we had learned how to live with them. We had built a new society, one where survival was the only goal. And as I looked around at the people I had come to call my friends, I knew that I had found a new home. A home in a world of the undead. The next day, we heard the sound of shattering glass and the screams of soldiers outside. We peeped through a small opening in the tent and saw that the zombies had breached the fence and were attacking the camp. Sarah immediately sprang into action, telling us to grab whatever we could and follow her. We ran through the chaos, dodging the zombies and the soldiers who had turned into them. It was a nightmare come to life. We made our way to a nearby truck and piled in, with Sarah taking the driver's seat only for us to find out that we were not complete anymore. She said we should concentrate as she drove us through the chaos, swerving around abandoned vehicles and mowing down zombies that got in our way. We eventually found refuge in an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city. It wasn't much, but it was safe for the time being. We set up barricades and took turns keeping watch throughout the night. Over the next few weeks, we scoured the city for supplies and other survivors. We found a few, but most of them had been killed or turned into zombies. It was a bleak existence, but we did what we had to do to survive. As time went on, Sarah could make calls to inform the military that there were survivors. So the commander asked them to make their way to the border as that's the only way that can be rescued. Sarah took charge once again, leading us on a dangerous journey across the country. We faced many challenges along the way, but we never gave up hope. And finally, after weeks of traveling, we arrived at the facility. We were met by armed guards who were hesitant to let us in, but Sarah convinced them to let us pass. We were taken to a lab where we met with a team of scientists who scanned us to know if we were infected. They explained that they had been working tirelessly to find a cure, and that they are positive to get a breakthrough. Even as we felt sad that we lost so many friends at the military camp, as they couldn't make it to the border. We were also finally so happy that we passed through such journey and survived it.